Okay guys, so I'm working on my journaling right now, and I'm just trying to get like a white piece of paper here so you can see a little better. I printed on Vellum in a font called Letterpress. I think it's like a size 14 or so. Played with my width a little bit here just to get a nice balanced journal block. I created a guide to give myself a 3/4 inch space to put my holes. And right now what I'm considering is doing like a series of stamps across the top. So right now I have them laid out from this one from the 2021 collection, this one, and this one, using some of the icons from there, as well as this stamp, which is from last year's kit, I think. Yeah, because it has this matching Explorer and then the travel story. And I have a 5-day vacation, so I can use all 5 days here. My original plan was to put that up here, but I'm thinking maybe I will just move the number 1 down here into the corner, kind of by itself. I will definitely be using StazOn for this. And what I'm trying to figure out is if I want to try to stamp them all together at the same time or not. Sometimes stamps can be like different heights. So, and I'm also trying to figure out if I need to cut it first or not. I think I'm going to have to trim it, which I really didn't want to have to do because I really like the way they're laid out right now. I was hoping to kind of just transfer it right onto my stamping pad. But I've got the plane, go, a passport, vacation, arrive, so happy to be able to go somewhere, hotel, traveling thoughts, and then I was going to use the bigger geotag here, which I'm still debating. I picked the smaller geotag from this set instead of this one, so it wasn't breaking the barrier so much, so to speak. I kind of thought maybe the smaller one might sort of nestle in there a little bit more, or I was trying to decide if I should leave space there to put like a colorful geotag, which could be really fun, but it would be the only pop of color on there. So that's kind of what I'm debating, is like if I do that or not. You know, like I think it would look really cute, and I could pick a coordinating color based off of whatever page is across from it. So that's kind of where my thoughts are right now. Which I think maybe, I think I kind of like that. I think I like the idea of putting in one little pop of color. But what I might do is stamp everything else and then decide if I'm going to add in a little geotag or not. So, I apologize, I was redoing my nails. Aren't they cute? I'm going to pull out my stamping platform here. And what I could do is turn it this direction. So I really do actually like my placement, so I was trying to avoid having to reposition everything. I'll just do that one separately. The main component is just making sure everything already kind of starts out straight. I'm gonna pull it close here and take a look. I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up. So they all picked up together, which is good. And the nice thing about experimenting like this is that I don't have to commit to this. If it doesn't work, I can just reprint another journaling block. So I'm gonna take a really nice close look here and see, like this goes a little crooked. My arrive is a tiny bit crooked. And that is why I love this grid on this Tim Holtz stamping mat. Because even when you think things are straight, they are not. And I'm not going for total perfection, but if I have the ability to make things straight, I think that is a good idea. Okay. I'm gonna give this a go. Some of these I've already used, but some I haven't yet. So I need to be careful and not over ink the smaller stamps over there and up top here. I want to get as much ink on here as possible for the first round so that maybe I don't potentially have to do a second stamp. I wasn't being super careful there with my stamp block. This part wouldn't really get on the vellum, but if I had anything on here, that could potentially become a problem. All right, here we go. Make sure my magnet's out of the way. So definitely did not have nearly enough ink on there. Let's try it again. Oh, shoot. Something got a little off center there. So, all right, I'm gonna have to reprint it and go again, which I'll do here in just a moment. But I think I like it. I think it looks really cute. And now I want to, well, I can just decide if I'm gonna go with like a puppy. Yeah, that's pretty cute. I'm gonna do that. I'll figure that out later. So let me reprint. Somehow I must not have had it, even though it was shifted forward, it must not have been shifted all the way to the side. So let me reprint and we will start all over. Okay guys, round two. I think it came out really cute. It took 2 presses down. My vellum moved after the second one, so I really made sure to make sure and line it up well. I'm gonna go give this a lot of drying time. Luckily you can still read these. They got a little thick because of having to restamp. I did try wiping them off, but it came out pretty good. I'm very, very happy with that. So what I'm gonna do is clean off my stamps, get my journaling printed, and I'll work on day 2, and then I will share all of them when they are done. Okay guys, so just sharing here how I'm finishing off my day 1 journaling block. So I needed to trim it out so I could finish stamping on my last day. Or no, sorry, not my last day, but my day numbers, which is my last stamp is what I meant to say. There's a ridge that goes around the outside of the stamping pad, so I didn't want it to like crease my vellum, so I needed to do it when it was smaller. And I wanted to wait for it to dry a little bit before cutting it down as well. Stays on dries fairly quickly. I gave it some time. It still looked wet, but it actually was dry and fine with a very tentative check. So you can see there I used my punch template to figure out where to punch the holes, and then I'm just briefly showing you how I clean my stamps. I use my StazOn or my water based on which kind of ink I'm using. And then I have a stamp scrubber that I got from Ranger. It really helps get all the ink out of fine detail stamps. And then here, this is the only one where I add something else, which is this puppy geotag.
This ought to be a fun addition. All the rest of the days are only stamps, but I just thought that this would kind of be fun. So there you can see I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to leave it out so that it can dry a little bit longer, just to be sure. So I'm kind of just jumping through the rest of the pages here, just giving you an idea of how I lay out my stamps here. So I just really pull a ton of different things out that I'm considering with the theme. I'm considering the sentiments. I wanted to have a mix of icons and stamps as I was going, and I just wanted to fill the block up as best that I could. So I continued doing it this way without cutting out my pages every time, just because I felt like I had a little bit more control over the paper, and it gave me a place to, like, I'm not even sure. I just kept it like this the whole time without trimming them out first. So I just let everything dry. Most often it took several stamps to get everything as dark as I wanted. I did have some issues where some stamps were not as thick as others, so I had to kind of do them in stages, or there you can see I'm pulling them off as they've inked as dark as I'd like, and the others just needed to be able to be inked better and pressed down without the other ones interfering with how they went, because they're different brands, they're different manufacturers, or obviously different brands and different manufacturers, but even the same ones from Ali Edwards, which is most of the ones that I'm using here, or Curly Perky, look and feel different, especially like that wave one there's from a kid's stamp set that's like half the size of all the rest. In that particular instance here, you can see that blue stamp off to my right. That one just would not stick to the platform no matter what, so I just decided to stamp all the rest. And sorry, you can see a lot of my head here as I'm really trying to check my details, but I just figured I'd stamp the rest and then remove them and line it up and stamp it by itself, since it just wouldn't stick. I tried to be careful not to put too much stays on my stamps so that they would get like too flooded. And there was a couple, like I think out of the 5 journaling pages, I had to reprint either 2 or 3 of them because of issues, or I just wasn't quite as happy. Or like with day 5, I just needed to move my journaling down because there was less of it so that it looked slightly more balanced. So just trying to give you an idea. Here I am working on day 5. I had a little bit more room, but I really enjoyed this opportunity to play with my stamps and mix and match them. This is very much my style. It's linear, it's graphic, it's just simple black and white. I do have red stays on, but it's the only other color that I have. So it would be fun to look into getting blue, because I do have another beach vacation coming up in a couple weeks, just to have something different. But I will leave you with some shots and a full walkthrough in just a moment.
Okay guys, let me tell you how much I love these journaling blocks. So much. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done for a travel album. Just to give you a quick glimpse here. So I've got washi tape that I put on the edges. Basically, like I've done vellum pages before in albums as like page openers or like a title divider, but these are kind of in the mix of a lot of pages, and I didn't want them to get ripped really fast. So I used one single piece of washi tape for each one to help reinforce the holes, and it also just provides a really fun bright piece of color. So you can see how similar they all are. I kept the exact same template in Photoshop. I created a guide at 3/4 of an inch vertically so that I knew I had plenty of space for my holes and so it would look well centered. And then I believe I left, I think it was a 1.5 inch space. Yeah, so 1.5 inch space goes to here to give myself room to journal, leave room. And I didn't put anything at the bottom, I just kind of kept that in mind as I was going. The only one that gets really close is this day 4. It's right on the edge, but I just, again, I kept in mind, I played with my left and right to make sure that the words look nice and balanced. And I used a font that is called Letterpress in a script font. It's similar to a Thirsty script, but it's a little more clean and not so thick, so it's easier to read. But I just have really enjoyed using scripty fonts for journaling lately. I did it in my weekend life this year and last year and really loving it. So the main stamps that I used here the most, that I tried to make sure something was in there, is I used this travel collection set from last year. The 1 through 5 obviously got used, and unfortunately they got stained with my stays on. Usually my stays on will come right off, but I think because they got stamped so heavily, they got really, really dark. So you can see I used literally every stamp except for this travel story, which I tried fitting in, but just didn't work. So 1 through 5, I used the Explorer, the Geotag several times, this View, and then Scenic Route. This was from the kids adventure kit that came out last year, but I actually used several of these. I used the waves, I used the sun, I used the little swirly thing here for my airplane on the last page here, which I thought was really cute. And these are the ones where you might hear me talk in the video how they're very, very thin. I didn't notice it at first, but I couldn't stamp them at the same times as anything else because they weren't the same dimension, so the ink wouldn't pick up. These are the stamps from the 2021 collection that I used the most. So I really loved these. I wanted to use more of these, but we weren't in a country that, like, not that it needs to be, but I didn't go to a country where we were speaking really any of these languages. Like, I've been to Italy 5 times. I've been to Spain, I've been to France. So like, I planned to use these. It just wasn't something that I was really feeling for Jamaica. And I love, of course, Ali's scripty font. So on every single page, and of course we weren't in the US, so I couldn't use any of these, but I used the icons. So for every single one, I tried to use at least one of the larger words. So in this instance, go is on this stamp set. So I use one large word. I use a scripty word from here or here. And then I tried to find a text typewriter kind of stamp. Not intentionally, but then I realized that that's how I was going. And then some of these smaller words that are in the same font here, but just shorter. And then I tried to also mix in some icons. So, you know, here I have the plane and the passport, and I was going to stamp the geotag, but of course I switched it to the puppy sticker, which I love. This is using traveling thoughts. So happy to be able to go somewhere, arrive, hotel. Of course, you can see the rest there. So here, some other, so before I keep going, so some of the other stamps that I used heavily in my rotation here, I really tried to make my smaller stamps shine for once, because they're ones that get ignored easily. So I used these 2 from the Rome stamp kit, and I probably could have used more, but I was trying to keep them really tiny. So the Rome stamp kit, the Adventure stamp kit, which I've used many times. This is from the 2020 travel collection. I was going to use this ginormous plane on the way home, day 5, because I had the space, or the globe, but I decided to go with the smaller one again from my 6x8 stamp set and be able to put in more stamps. But I used this compass at least twice in the album. This one is from, it's like an outdoor set. I used the hiking one, and I tried using Fun and Sun, but I ended up not doing it. This is the Journey kit. This one looks like a passport stamp, and then this Get Lost, I used that. These 2 are Kelly Perky stamps. So I used this On a Tiny Adventure, which I have used in many, many travel albums. It's one of my favorites. And then this is a cruise set, but I used this awesome drink icon right here. And then I have this I Heart Being in the Water, which obviously can be work perfect for beach. It doesn't have to be, you know, cruise theme. So I'm trying to really take in mind what Laura Wanzik taught us in the Stamp Your Story class about turning your stamps and looking for stuff. Like, honestly, I used this really, really excited stamp twice in my album, which I probably never noticed it before, but I've really been trying to take that into consideration. There was another one that I had found. Oh, this one. It's the only one going vertically, and it says in the air. I didn't even notice it for a while until I was like, we're flying. It's perfect. I can put in the air for my last day, you know? And I hadn't even noticed that it was really on there. So it's a really good idea to do that and to turn your stamps and make sure that you're getting as much out of it as you can. The other 2 that I used that are really great, tiny ones, are these ones from Citrus Twist Kits here. This is their May 2020, and then this one's called Journeys from a Travel Collection. So, you know, I used Beach, and a couple of these got used throughout the album, but my Versamark ink comes off better than the Stays On did. So I had this view, and I could have used so many more, but I really was, you know, mixing and matching from a lot of different sets, and there may be some that I missed. So anyway, going back to this one, I have loved this. This is supposed to be a sunshine from this little kit here. It has a tiny little dot on the thing, so it kind of ends up looking like a little COVID bug, but that works, you know, because there was COVID. So I did look at this camera stamp, but I wanted to use the more detailed one from the Adventure Story kit. So I have the So Fun, this view, the sights, making memories, the drink, which was the perfect height, and then my O2. This was more of an adventure-y kind of day, and I was so bummed because this was one that I had to reprint and redo, and then this one got crooked the second time. So this was actually from Car Ride, and I got brave and I cut it in half. I was gonna do Best Ride and like stack it above, but I ended up going a different route. But we went on a bamboo rafting trip ride, and I didn't need to use the word car, and it can clearly just, you know, go right back on the stamp together. So I was glad that I did that. So we've got the compass, the little waves, go slowly because it was a very slow moving thing, a geotag, an open heart, this view, and then Gone Exploring. That was from the Journey kit, I believe. So here we had another adventure-y kind of day. So here I used the word adventure, explore, the little camera, favorite, because this was my favorite day, I heart being in the water, loving, hiking, and then I had a little bit of space here, so I picked one that said, yep, so darn excited, and stuck that in the middle there as well, just to give it some height so that it wasn't kind of two stamps going all the way across every time. And then for day 5, this one was a little bit of a problem child. My journaling was too high to start with. I moved it down. I still wish I had moved it down more, but I also wish I had moved my stamps down more. And this one, after 2 attempts, was still not right. And then I got an accidental fingerprint on there. It's staying in the album like that. I'm not redoing it a third time because it was starting to like really mess up my stamps. But I reused the passport and the plane again and the vacation. So these 3 were last time. I used that little swirl for the plane, which I love. Geotag, instead of an open heart, I did a closed heart. We did return because on the first one I did arrive. Super fun, completely enjoyed this adventure. I loved that this kind of looked like a passport stamp, the remember. So again, I tried to really stay consistent, and then this one says all you need is love and a passport. So it's not my best stamping, but I was getting a little frustrated after several attempts. So as far as washi tapes go, this one is a Citrus Twist kits. These 3 are all from Studio Calico, I believe. And then this one is one that I found at Michael's, so I'm not even sure of the brand anymore, but the planes are silver foil, which is really cool. So I hope you're inspired to use your stamps in a new way, or in a way that you hadn't necessarily thought of. I was really, really proud of myself because I never stamped this much in an album. I really got a lot of use out of them this time. And that's why we buy them, you know, like I don't want this to sit in my box never used. So very excited about it. Definitely inspired me to try to do this more often going forward, because I always think about my stamps less because I have, you know, filler cards, I have journal cards, I have my photos, and then that usually takes up all the space. So pretty excited to do more. And I really want to play with this half circle set. I didn't really do anything with it here just because I didn't have the room and we weren't like in a city kind of area, but definitely looking forward to that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be following up with a full video of my entire album pretty shortly. So thanks so much for watching.